Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, in this video, I'm gonna be talking about something that I've made a video on before. You know, the whole Stu returning stuff, all the theories. I've talked about that before, and but I talked about it before Scream 6 came out, and now that Scream 6 is out, I wanted to make another video because there's been more theories going on that I've seen and just some stuff I want to talk about again. So, this video is basically going to be about, will Stu Macher return for Scream 7? Will he return? Will he not? What I think about it, what they're going to do, and, all that stuff. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I would really appreciate it. And, yeah, we're just going to dive right into it here. So, like I said, after Scream 6 came out, there's been a lot more theories I've seen just going around on whether Stu Macher is going to return. And there's, some fans that said that there's it's more open. Like the doors are more open now for his return for Scream 7 than it ever was before. And, I just want to talk about that. First, I want to say this. I am a little bit, I wouldn't say I'm completely middle ground. I do lean more the other way when it comes to Stu returning. Like I'm very well more against it. But there is still some side of me that is a little bit middle ground on, just feeling like, yeah, there is a possibility of his return. But I just, because I do think that, I've said this before many times, but I do think that they could bring Stu back. If the writers wanted to, they could bring him back. At the end of the day, whether if you want Stu back or not, the writers, they could easily bring him back regardless. I'm sure they can think of something, just some kind of way to bring him back and, just have everything be set up for his return. But I just feel like, like I said, it's possible, and I acknowledge that. And I do acknowledge as well that it's also possible for him to survive. The 4 stab wounds that he took by Billy and, the TV falling on his head. I acknowledge that that is survivable as well. However, some of the theories I've been seeing lately about his return, some of them, I'm going to be honest, I don't think they make sense, nor do I agree with them. For example, I've seen this theory go around quite a bit, and it doesn't really make sense to me. And it's about like one of them is, Stu being in prison, and he's leading a cult within his prison cell, and he's just he's just instructing everything from there. That just makes no sense whatsoever. I just don't know how that would even make sense. Stu being inside of he's in prison and he's leading a whole cult from the prison. How? That just makes no sense whatsoever. I just don't really see that being the case. And, I've even seen theories of some fans saying stuff like, oh, they're, Stu's parents, they're rich and they secretly paid off the police or the government, and they kept Stu's name hidden, and he's Stu is now he was basically, his parents paid the police to basically keep him, or I've seen some fans say either they kept his name hidden from the police, or they took him to a private hospital and they paid them to keep his name, hidden, so that way no one knows that he's alive. But it's like, and the reason some fans are saying that too is because they're saying that, oh, Stu's parents have a big house, so they must be rich. That's why I've seen some Stu fans say, and it's just like, just because, like I've said this before, but it's like, just because Stu's parents had a big house doesn't mean that they're rich. Like, that just makes no sense. Like, they live in a house that, yes, it's pretty big, but that doesn't mean Stu's parents are rich, and that doesn't mean that they have enough money to just be like, "Hey, we're gonna give this to the police or whoever to keep Stu hidden, so that way no one. We're gonna just pay them to keep Stu hidden, so that way no one knows he's alive." Like, that just makes no sense. Like, why? Like that doesn't, just because Stu's parents have a big house doesn't mean they're rich. If they were rich, then I feel like if anything, they would be living in some mansion, some fancy big mansion. You know, maybe they would even have like a few more mansions. If they were really rich, they wouldn't be living in a house in the middle of nowhere. It just, yeah, the whole argument about Stu being rich and his parents are paying off the police force to keep his name hidden so that way no one knows that he's alive. Like, I don't buy that. It just seems very, just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, I just don't buy that. And then another thing too is that, like, I've seen some fans say that, Stu is like, he's basically just like, because here's the thing: if Stu is out there somewhere, right, in the Scream universe, he's still alive, he's out there somewhere, where would he have gone? Because if anything, he would have had to have, after the TV fell on him, he would have had to at least, stayed, in place under that TV until all the police and news reporters left his house. He's not gonna just leave before they get there, and just because obviously they found his body under the TV. That's how everyone knows about him getting that TV on his head, and him, like, everyone's saying that he's, everyone in the Scream universe is saying that Stu is dead because, obviously the police and everyone there would have witnessed and saw Stu's body under the TV. So Stu couldn't have just ran away into the woods, into the wilderness, and just left before they got there. He would have had to have waited and then, went and ran away after the police and everyone left, so that way he can just escape. But where would he have gone after that, though? He's just in the woods somewhere, just hiding out. He's like, he somehow found his parents running in the woods, or like, where would he have gone? And if he's just in someone's basement for, this long, why is he now all of a sudden trying to start a whole cult? Why is he now all of a sudden trying to kill Sidney, Dewey, and Gail? And it just, like, why? Why is he doing all that now when he could have done that a long time ago? If he wanted to, he could have killed Sidney, Dewey, and Gail a long time ago if he really wanted them dead. And this is some of the arguments I've seen from some Stu fans. They're like, oh, he killed Dewey. He almost killed Gail. He attacked Gail in Scream 6 as well. He killed Gail's boyfriend. And, I've seen many Stu fans say this stuff, but it's like, if he really wanted the main trio dead, why would he have not done that a long time ago? Tell me, why? And why wouldn't he start a cult a long time ago? He could have started his own cult a long time ago, tried to, hire someone or, a group to work with him and, do killing for him, maybe even kill Sidney, Dewey, and Gail for him, kind of like Roman with Billy and Stu. He could have, Stu himself could have hired others a long time ago to try to kill them off. But you're telling me now all of a sudden he just got the idea of like, oh yeah, I'm going to start a cult. I'm just going to randomly take revenge on Sidney, Dewey, and Gail and try to kill them. Like, yeah, okay. Like, he could have killed him a long time ago if he really wanted to. And some fans try to say, oh, but like he has no motive, so he can just be killing for fun. But if he's killing for fun, then why target Sidney Dewey and Gale as if? Because some Stu fans have said that when he killed Dewey, it was personal, and when he attacked Gale, it was personal. Some Stu fans have said that. If it was personal, then wouldn't that mean now he has a motive? He's always had no motive, technically, because in Scream 1, he killed with Billy just for fun. There was no real motive and reasoning for why Stu killed. So why would he all of a sudden now care about Sidney, Dewey, and Gale as his main motivation when he could have done that a long time ago? And not only that, but like, it doesn't really seem like he cares about them, because now he's just targeting Sam and Tara, because some fans are saying that he's targeting them now. Some Stu fans have said that. I don't get that. It doesn't really add up. And just some of the theories about like Stu leading a cult. Like, he's leading a cult, but like, where is that cult at? Where's the cult? Where is that group of killers that he's working with? Because it certainly is not, the Wayne family, Detective Bailey and his family. It's not them that he's working with. There's no way, because it doesn't even seem like they were connected to Stu or anyone at all. It seems like they had their own plan just to avenge Richie's death, and that's it. And some Stu fans say, oh, well, Stu was working with Richie and Amber. But it's like, here's the thing, though. Because after I saw Scream 6, I felt like Richie and Amber really were just big Stab fans. It doesn't seem like they were just like, oh, they were under the influence of someone else to go kill. And I know some Stu fans tried to like use this argument in Scream 5 whenever Amber said, oh, I've been radicalized and this and that. They were like, oh yeah, this means that Stu told Amber and Richie to go kill for him, and that's why Amber says she's radicalized. That doesn't mean anything. To me, it seemed like Amber and Richie were just genuinely Stab fans who wanted to create their own Stab movie. It seems like they had their own plan in mind. So it does not seem like that Stu would be connected to Richie and Amber either. The whole Reddit thing, like, he just, like, it does not seem like he would have met them while there. It doesn't seem like he's connected to them just, like, at all. So the whole, theories about Stu being, working with Richie and Amber, I don't buy that either. I don't buy him being with Richie and Amber. I don't buy the whole theory of him especially being with Richie's family in Scream 6. Like, I don't think he was working with anyone. So what cult and group of killers is Stu working with? Tell me. Because it doesn't seem like he's really working with anyone, Unless he randomly forms a cult in Scream 7, then I guess. But, like, here's the thing about the whole cult thing in general. It seems like a cool idea, and I wouldn't completely mind it, but at the same time, though, it's like, because some fans have had complaints about, certain killers in this franchise not getting enough screen time. If we had a whole cult of killers, what makes you think we're going to get even half screen time with most of these killers? They're just going to be a whole bunch of randoms. And I know some Stu fans are probably like, oh, but that's fine with me. But at the same time, though, it's just like things can get a little bit convoluted when you have that many killers roaming around doing stuff. Like, I don't know, man. It just seems like this whole cult idea, it seems good on paper to me, but it doesn't seem like it would actually work in a Scream movie. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think Stu is running a whole cult and he's having a group of killers working for him. It just does not seem like Like, if anything, that just like it's just that's kind of lazy to me. Like, he's just having others work for him. Like, why? And I've even seen some Stu fans trying to say that like he's now his main target is Sam because he's trying to get Sam to snap. But it's like, and he's trying to like get Sam to work with him. But I mean, Sam hasn't snapped yet. I mean, even Detective Bailey and his family tried to make Sam snap in Scream 6 so that way they could, you know, frame Sam. And clearly that didn't work. Sam hasn't snapped in Scream 5 or 6. And some fans are trying to say that, well, with Scream 7 she could snap. I personally don't want that to happen because it's like, I just feel like that the writing for that would just, it just doesn't make sense to try to make Sam like some type of killer, and now she just betrays everyone around her to work with Stu. Like, she's just now gonna become the killer now. It just I don't know. I know some fans, they want that, but I don't really think they should go that route with trying to make Sam a killer. It just does not work for me. It just seems like it just seems random. Like, it just does not. Sam is. I feel like she's someone who uses that darkness within her for good, and that's what I want them to keep expanding on with even Scream 7. Keep going down that route, and I'm fine with that. But I don't want them to just make Sam a killer just so they can have her work with Stu. Like, come on now. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, she hasn't snapped in Scream 5. Yeah, she killed Richie brutally, but that doesn't mean she's becoming a killer. Even in Scream 6, she killed Detective Bailey brutally as well, but she still hasn't, she hasn't snapped and become a killer. So why, like, I don't think the whole point is to try to make Sam become a killer. It's mainly just about her dealing with those temptations and urges to, you know, use that darkness within her, but she always ends up using it for good no matter what. And that's the great thing about Sam, is she uses her not evil, but darkness for good. So to just now erase that and make her could become a full-on killer, I mean, some fans, they want that to happen. I don't. I just feel like that's just not really good writing to me at all, to just make her snap. Like, they're literally just gonna do, like, because here's the thing, is that some fans have been saying that they don't like that Detective Bailey is a 2.0 of Mrs. Loomis. But, like, technically, if Sam would become a killer in Scream 7, she would be a 2.0 of Jill, because she would then be the main character who turns into a killer. But it just, so why, I just don't really want that. I wouldn't want that to happen for Sam. I just want her to use her darkness for good. Stu trying to make her snap and become a killer, just, I don't buy that whole theory either. I just don't think that makes sense. And, even just the whole theory about, like, Stu, he's like, because, like, how would he even know? How is he even keeping track of Sam and Tara and Gail and everyone else and where they're going? If he really wants, like I said, if he really wanted Gail, Sydney, and Dewey dead, he could have done that a long time ago, and not barely right now. And also, it's been like a year between Scream 5 and 6, the events in the Scream universe. It's even been a year there between Scream 5 and 6. Meaning that Stu just took a year off after killing Dewey and just decided to now attack Gail in New York City. Why? Why wait that long? Like, like, come on. It just doesn't make sense. And I just don't really like that. There's just, like, some Stu fans always like to, they try to just, some Stu fans always try to, like, they're always, like, calling out unrealistic things just so they can try to point to Stu all the time. Just like with Amber killing Dewey, they were like, oh, that's so unrealistic. Like, it had to have been Stu. And then now with, Quinn killing Gail's boyfriend, they're like, oh no, that was unrealistic. It has to be Stu. But I feel like if I and I'm not sure, but if it was, I wonder if it was Richie who killed Dewey, would they still be saying it was Stu? If it was Detective Bailey who killed Gil's boyfriend, would some of these Stu fans still be saying it's Stu that killed them? Would they? Or would they just be like, oh no, it's it was Richie who killed Dewey, and it was Quinn, I mean Detective Bailey who killed Gil's boyfriend. I feel like I'm not. I feel like some Stu fans, they're trying to justify their theories by saying they're trying to justify, like they're trying to just basically say that anything that's unrealistic, it has to be Stu, just to try to justify their own Stu theories. And it's just like, okay, like it's one thing to think something's unrealistic, but then to try to point to everything being Stu, it's just like it doesn't add up. Like it just why? Like, if you genuinely just believe it's Stu, then that's a whole, like, okay, I get that. But if you're mainly just trying to say everything is Stu just because you think something's unrealistic, it's just like, oh, okay. It's just, I don't get that, man. I just don't. And just, this, like the whole like this picture right here that I'm on with Stu. I don't even know where this picture came from, but I really don't. I really doubt that Stu would look like this. I mean, sure, he might. If he did come back, he might have some scars, but I just don't see how they could bring Stu back in a way that would make sense. It's possible, like I've said earlier, but I just don't. Some of the theories I've heard from some fans, they don't make sense. And even in Scream 6, like some fans were like, "Oh my gosh," they said Mindy said that, what, like, if you believe he's dead, so therefore that proves Stu is alive and he's coming back. Because in Scream 6, Kirby was like, "Oh look, this is the TV that killed Stu Macher," and then Mindy was like, "If you believe he's dead." And then now you have some of these Stu fans who are like, "Oh yeah, this is proof that they're gonna Stu is alive and they're gonna bring him back." Like, not really, because it's just like it doesn't mean it's proof that he's coming back. If anything, the way I see it, they're just simply acknowledging the theories about Stu and his return. That obviously a lot of fans have, and the writers, the directors, everyone is just in the Scream team. They're acknowledging all the theories about Stu, but also in the Scream universe, there's also conspiracy theories as well, just like there is in the real world. There's also conspiracy theories in the Scream universe about whether Stu is alive or not. Because if you guys remember in Scream 5, when Richie was on his laptop, and then there was like some recommendation from some conspiracy theory channel, and it showed on Richie's laptop, and it was like a video that said, "Is the real Stu Macher still alive?" You guys remember that, so that basically proves that that's showing that the whole conspiracy theories that that are in the real world about Stu is also a real thing within the Scream universe. There's many out there in the Scream universe who are also theorizing whether Stu's alive or not. And that's basically I feel like that's basically what they're acknowledging here. It's just the conspiracy theories. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna bring Stu back. Like, I don't know why some Stu fans try to like immediately, just say everything is proof that that he's gonna come back, but it's like it doesn't mean he's coming back just because Mindy said that. She made the comment about, oh, like if you believe he's dead, and like somehow that's like that means he's coming back. Like, no, it doesn't mean he's coming back. And it's just so, yeah, and that's one thing. So yeah, like this doesn't necessarily mean this is proof that Stu is coming back just because Mindy said this. And also, like, yeah, just because Mindy said this, but also, I see a lot of Stu fans constantly compare, um, you know, because, after Scream 6, you have Chad, who, obviously he took a lot of stabbings. He took a lot of stabs, like he took like 15 stab wounds. And, Chad, so, and then now you have some of these Stu fans who are like, oh, Chad survived like 15 stab wounds. He got stabbed multiple times and he survived. And, so now some of these Stu fans are using this as a way to say that Stu's alive and he's coming back. And it's just like, yeah, but the difference here, though, is that, like, while, yes, Chad took many stabs, for sure, but Chad was stabbed multiple times, but then he was shown to be alive, like, 25, 30 minutes later. Stu, however, has mysteriously been gone for, like, over 25 years. He's been presumed dead for over 25 years. Chad was shown, at least he was shown to be alive, like, 25 minutes later. Chad hasn't been gone for over 25 years, so that's kind of the difference between Stu and Chad. Chad has not been mysteriously gone for like 25 years or so. So it's like, and not just that, because, like, look, I know Chad took a lot of stabs, for sure. And I've even said this before, like, I wouldn't say that it's completely unrealistic. I wouldn't say it's unrealistic that he survived this amount of stabs. But I will say that they probably should have still just killed him off. I agree with that. I acknowledge that. They probably should have just killed him off anyways. Because, I feel like at the end of the day, they should have just went down that route of killing him off. But they kept him alive, and, here we are. But that doesn't mean, like, yes, like I said earlier, Stu could have survived the 4 stab wounds that he got, the 4 stabs that he got, and he was bleeding, and, the TV falling on his head. Yeah, Stu could survive that. I acknowledge that. But that doesn't mean he's coming back, though. And the fact that some Stu fans are just like, oh, yeah, Chad survived this many stab wounds, so therefore Stu's alive and he's coming back now. Like, okay, yeah. So this means he's coming back just because Chad survived multiple stabs in Scream 6? Like, that doesn't make sense at all. So, yeah, I don't really see how that even adds up. Like, yes, like I said, should Chad have died in Scream 6? For sure. But to say that Stu is coming back just because Chad survived this many stab wounds, it's just, that doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, too, it's like, because it's like, the thing is as well, is that Stu, while yes, he was not as, injured and attacked, and, he didn't get, like, completely, like, he wasn't stabbed multiple times like Chad. But at the same time, though, that doesn't mean, like, yes, Stu could be alive, but that doesn't mean he has to come back, and that doesn't mean they're gonna bring him back. That's where I'm trying to get out here. That's where I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to say. And also, like, Dewey also took multiple stab wounds as well. Like, maybe not as much as Chad did, but, like, Dewey was also stabbed quite a bit. Like, in between Scream 1 and 2, he was stabbed, like, at least, 4, 5, 6 times. And, he was stabbed quite a bit. And he was gonna die in the original Scream, but they kept him alive. In Scream 2, he was bleeding out, and they still kept him alive. Like he was literally, he almost died twice, and he still lived. He wasn't stabbed as many times as Chad, but I mean, he also had plot armor as well. If he can take this many stabs and still survive, so it's like, if you're gonna say this about Chad, then you might as well say the same about Dewey. Just like it's just like, are some of these Stu fans who were using Chad as a way to say that Stu is alive and coming back, are some of these Stu fans going to say the same thing about Dewey, that he took multiple stab wounds and survived as well? Or are they only going to say this about Chad? Because like, I'm just saying, like, you're going to say, if some of these Stu fans are going to say this about Chad taking multiple stabs and surviving, you might as well say the same thing about Dewey. Like Dewey may have not been stabbed as many times as Chad, at least in Scream 6, because in Scream 5, Chad was stabbed at least like 7 times. Dewey he was stabbed around, like, I don't know, like he was like 4, 5, 6 times between Scream 1 and 2. In Scream 6, Chad, overtook that, those amount of stabs, because he was stabbed like 15 times. But Dewey still should have, he still should have died between Scream 1 and 2. He still should have, but he also had plot armor just like Chad did. Even Gail and Sydney, they had plot armor too. It's not just these new characters with the core 4 that have plot armor. The main trio also had plot armor, and they survived for 4 movies straight until Scream 5, when they finally decided to kill one of them off, which was Dewey. And there were some fans who were, quite a bit of fans, that were like, just obviously they were not happy with Dewey dying, and they wanted him to still be alive. But if you want the main trio to live forever, but then say the core 4 can't live for at least 3 movies or 2 movies, then how does that add up? How does that make sense? You want the main trio to live forever, but then with the core 4, you want them to immediately just get killed off every movie. It doesn't make sense. And like, Dewey had plot armor as well. So for some of these Stu fans that use Chad as a way to try to be like, oh yeah, Stu's alive and he's definitely coming back because Chad took a lot of stabs. Yeah, but Dewey also took a lot of stabs. So are you going to use Dewey as a way to justify your Stu theories, or only Chad? Because I'm just saying. And it's like, and another thing too is like I said, Chad he was stabbed multiple times, but he didn't just disappear and us not see him surviving for like over 25 years, like how Stu, he's been gone for a long time now. At least with Chad, while yes, he took multiple stab wounds and he survived, but at least we saw Chad like 25 minutes later, compared to Stu, who has been gone for 25 years. Like, it's not really comparable. And it's just like, and another thing too is just, with some fans just in general trying to say that, like, Chad took many stab wounds. He took a lot of stabs, but then you have some characters, past Scream characters in other Scream movies, that die from less stabs than Chad. Well, you can, like I said, you can say the same thing about Dewey, because Dewey would get stabbed like 4, 5, 6 times between Scream 1 and 2. And there were certain characters in the past Scream movies as well that would get stabbed like 1 time and they would die, 2 times and they would die, 3 times they would die, or maybe even just the same amount of stabs that Dewey would take and they would still die. And this was in the past Scream movies. So therefore, this was something, the whole thing about some fans trying to say like, oh, this certain character dies from only a couple stabs, but Chad takes this many stabs and survives. Well, you can say the same thing about Dewey. There was many characters in the older Scream movies that were dying from less stabs than Dewey. So therefore, like, what are you gonna say there? Like, my best example for this is in Scream 3. Whenever Cotton's girlfriend in the opening scene, we see her, and whenever Cotton gets to the house, he's talking to Christine, and then Ghostface sneaks behind Cotton's girlfriend Christine, and he stabs her, and she dies from just one stab to the back. Meanwhile, Dewey's over here getting stabbed like 4, 5, 6 times, bleeding out for hours, and he can survive that. But then Christine, Cotton's girlfriend in the opening scene of Scream 3, she dies from just one stab to the back. You're not going to point out the continuity errors and just the errors in general with the writing in the older movies with stuff like that, but you want to point it out with only with the newer movies. Like, I don't get that from some fans. Like, clearly there was, just issues with stuff like that in general. And also, like I said, when it comes to Dewey in Scream 5, whenever he was killed off, some fans that are saying that, oh, it was Stu that killed him. Stu killed Dewey and this and that. Like, it's just like, yeah, Stu's like, the thing is it's just like, it doesn't really make sense why this is just like like a lot of this is up to